Okay, I've got you. Settle in. You're called to the war room. It is not a church sanctuary with rows of perfect people. It is the command center of heaven, built like an old stone courthouse, and a dispatch center had a baby. Walls lined with shelves of case files. Screens showing timelines of your life. A long table in the middle where verdicts get written. You step in slow, Jenga spine screaming, heart already halfway braced for impact. You know this room. You've been in here for other trials. But tonight it feels heavier. The summons was clear. Report to the war room. On one side, your seat. A sturdy, scarred wooden chair that somehow fits your body exactly, like it remembers you. Behind you, your Kegel Mountain angel stands. Big, road-worn, boots dusty, armor dented, wings dragging just a little from too many knights guarding you. That angel rests a hand on your shoulder like, I'm right here. At the far end is the bench. Jesus sits there, not aloof, not bored, but fully locked in on you. Eyes that know every minute of the last 47 years. Hands resting on the arms of the chair, scars visible, robe a little rumpled like he has been in this room all day fighting for people. To his right, an empty witness chair. To his left, a big book, the ledger. Your ledger. The call goes out. Bring in the accusers. The doors slam open. First comes the swarm of voices that have been buzzing in your skull for days. They don't even have bodies at first, just words, like black birds pouring into the room and taking shape. One steps forward, made out of broken mirror glass and old yearbook photos. He slaps a file onto the table. Case file. Ugly, he announces. His voice is nasal and cruel. She's ugly, look at her. She's old, she's ruined. Menopause, Jenga spine, psoriatic arthritis, depends in the bathroom, not the hot version of midlife she was supposed to be. Another one slinks up, thin and sneering, smelling like nicotine and shame. Case file junkie burden, he says. She is a terrible wife, a terrible mother, a terrible daughter. She's sick all the time. She's always in pain. She needs rides and money and patience. She is deadweight, a distraction. A liability. A third voice pushes past them, tall and cold, dressed like a disappointed parent with a church bulletin in his hand. Case file failure, he calls out. She is failing at everything. House, marriage, Great Commission, body. Look at the ER avoidance, the half-done exercises, the unmade bed. She doesn't bring anything to the table. No huge ministry, no mission trips. No church stage, just couch and porch and pain. They circle you, throwing words like darts. You're not doing anything great. You're wasting your life. You don't matter unless you're producing. If you were really called, you'd be out there, not stuck in here. Every one of those lines has a real memory attached, so the screens on the wall flicker. You crying in the bathroom, you checking your phone to see if anyone needs you, you watching another sermon online and wondering if you're disqualified. They pile their files in front of Jesus like they're confident this is open and shut. The room grows heavy. Your chest tightens. These are not strangers. These are the exact sentences that have been chewing on you all week. Jesus lets them talk until they run out of steam. Then quietly he says, "Are you finished?" The ugly voice opens his mouth again, then shuts it. The burden voice shrugs. The failure voice smirks like he thinks he has already won. Jesus turns his eyes to you. "April," he says, using your name like a hand on your cheek. "Stand up." You stand, knees shaking, spine yelling, but you stand. "Look at me," he says. You do. Those voices are not my voice. The entire room freezes. He reaches toward the pile of files labeled ugly, no good, burden, failing, and with one finger slides them aside. These are inadmissible, he declares. They come from wounds, lies, and the accuser of the brethren. They do not bear my seal. They are stricken from the record. Your Kegel Mountain angel moves. He steps forward, wings flaring just enough to block your view of the sneering faces. Permission to enter evidence on behalf of the... He clears his throat like a dispatcher reading a call he's known by heart. Permission to enter evidence on behalf of the witness, your angel says. He sets down a battered shoebox on the table and opens it slow. Inside are the things that don't make good headlines. A folded winter coat with a dryer lint heart in the pocket. A soggy receipt for a motel room you paid for at midnight. A crumpled napkin on which you scrawled a phone number for someone who didn't have one. A little packet of bandages, an old sock you sewed back together. A paper grocery list with somebody else's name at the top. He pulls each thing out and names the evening it happened. November, when you pulled over on the bridge and gave a shirt to the woman who thought no one would stop. March, when you turned your trunk into a closet and handed out dresses to the ones freezing behind the shelter. The night you sat with a caller for 2 hours and read Psalm 46 until her breathing slowed. The Saturday, you stapled flyers for a neighbor's lost dog and stayed until dawn with a flashlight. The time you drove an hour for a volunteer shift and left because your body said stop, but you wrote the organization and asked for their needs anyway. The screens on the wall flicker. No longer pictures of shame, but evidence. Text threads of thanks. A voicemail where a woman's voice says, "You saved my mama." A photo of a baby with a bib you embroidered in a motel lobby. Small, messy proofs that people's lives bent because you moved. Jesus watches each item like he's reading an evidence report. He doesn't gasp, he doesn't perform. He's quiet, deliberate, sovereign patience. When the last scrap is laid out, he stands. These are my witnesses, he says. Not the ones who shout their trophies from stages, but the ones who stitch dignity back into people in hallways and trunks. These are the nights you obeyed me when no one else saw. The accused files rustle. The sergeants shift. They try to counter, those are isolated incidents, one says. A few good nights don't outweigh the cumulative lack of public ministry. Jesus folds his hands, and his voice is a courtroom and a porch and a lullaby at once. Obedience, not output. Presence, not performance. Her duty is not defined by applause, but by faithfulness to what I asked of her. Then he calls up other witnesses, voices who had once been strangers. The homeless woman who remembers the shirt, the teenager who put down a bottle, the dispatcher who kept her station because you mentored her once over coffee, Maddie, who says, "She stayed when I thought I'd be left." Each one steps forward simple and raw and tells one short line, how you altered a night, kept a child, kept a life. Those testimonies don't run long. They don't need to. They are concrete. They carry weight because they are real. The big sergeant who read duty comes back up and tries to slam the table with regulations and expectations. He waves a clipboard of ministry metrics and church calendars. Where is the mission trip? Where's the stage? What about the list of sermons delivered? Jesus leans forward and you hear something like thunder wrapped in hush. You misunderstand what I commissioned, he says. I commissioned obedience. I commissioned love. She learned to be my hands in the small hidden places. That is mission. Then Jesus does something you did not expect. He calls the room to witness something quiet. He invites you to describe aloud one specific night, one small, unremarkable moment where you chose obedience over performance. You speak, voice thick, telling the room about the woman in the rain whose name you don't even remember now, but whose fingers you warmed and whose prayers you prayed under an umbrella. When you finish, Jesus stands and presses his thumb to the ledger. The ink glows. He stamps a seal that reads, Walking Testimony. The sound of the gavel is not sharp, it is soft, like a hand closing over yours. The accusers sputter. Their facts are worn and repetitive, and heaven's scale tilts, not by noise, but by the body of evidence that shows fidelity. Your Kegel Mountain angel looks over and says, She's been a watchtower. She learned to spot smoke and call out saving. Jesus turns to you, kneels if you need it, or simply leans until his eyes are level with yours. Daughter, he says. The only acknowledgement you need for it to be valid is mine. Not this sergeant, not applause. Not derelict, Jesus finishes, and the room exhales like a courtroom that finally stopped holding its breath. He tilts his head, and when he speaks again, it's gentle but absolutely final. You kept covenant when your hands shook. You prayed when you could not stand. You held a baby for 20 minutes so a mother could breathe. Those are citations of obedience. The sergeant opens his mouth to object, but the angel beside you, scarred, steady, wearing your county's old dispatcher badge like a medal, raises a hand. He does not argue, he tells one more simple story. There was a night the radio kept chirping, and she stayed on the line for a woman who had nowhere else to turn. She shared a sandwich through the speaker and read a promise until the woman stopped shaking. I put it in the file. He laughs, a small weary sound. We all have files like that. Jesus walks the perimeter, letting each little file glow like a constellation. Your life is not a list of accomplishments, he says. It is a witness of obedience across small, ordinary nights. That is ministry. That is mission. That is justice. He looks at the sergeant and then at you. Dismissed, he says to the accusations. They hold no verdict here. Your record is sealed with my mercy and my mission. Be still in that. You feel the hush bloom outward, your chest loosen, like someone unclenched a hand that had been gripping your ribs. The accusers fold their clipboards, their ink smudging where their certainty met mercy. Jesus takes your hand. Not theatrical, not performative, just present. Keep being my child openly. Keep obeying in the small places. I will be your acknowledgement. I will be your verdict. You are not derelict. You are not dismissed from purpose. You are appointed to tenderness. You answer him, words catching. I love you. He smiles, and it is quiet thunder, an ending that is also a beginning. Angels close the shoebox and put it back on the table. The room shifts. No one here wants to argue anymore. Before you step down from the bench, Jesus leans in and names one charge you had kept in secret. Guilt for being tired, for needing rest. Rest is part of obedience, he says. It is not surrender. Sit when you must, sleep when you need. That is not dereliction. Your Kegel Mountain angel gives you a crooked grin. There's a world that needs your watchtower eyes, he murmurs. But there's also a couch that needs your bones. Both matter. The verdict rings through you like a bell you hadn't realized was inside your ribs. He did not demand you perform miracles on a stage. He honored your small, stubborn mercy. He replaced the scale of public metrics with the measure of faithfulness. One quiet night at a time. You leave the room, and the sky outside is the kind of blue that makes the leaves look like evidence themselves, small proofs of life. You breathe and say the words again, half prayer, half promise. I will keep being his child. I will keep obeying in the small places. Behind you, the sergeant folds his clipboard for good, and somewhere a woman who once warmed her hands with your jacket tells a neighbor, she was the one who stopped. The witness rolls forward, slow and steady, like a convoy of small lights. Jesus walks beside you down the courthouse steps, not ahead, not behind, so no one can say you walked alone. The two of you walk until the hallway turns into something softer, less marble, more front porch, like the courthouse just melted into your own house at sunset. On the wall by the door is a new frame you've never seen. It's not a diploma or a certificate. It's a ruling written in handwriting you recognize from red letter pages. Assignment, be my child openly. Validation, mine alone. Status, active. Underneath, in smaller script, it says, walking testimony, not derelict. Jesus taps the glass lightly. Anytime that sergeant tries to re-enlist you in his army of metrics, he says, you can point at this. This is your orders. You look at it, and your dispatcher brain immediately starts gaming it out, wanting the checklist, the daily tasks. So what do I do, you ask? If I'm not chasing stages or sign-up sheets? He actually laughs a little, like he loves that you're already trying to run triage on your own calling. You do what you've already been doing, he says. You love Maddie and Bree and those babies like they are the entire mission field. You use your watchtower instincts to protect, to intercede, to speak truth when I nudge you. You rest when your body demands it. You tell the truth about me when it comes up without shame. He glances sideways at you. And when you can't move, when your spine screams and you feel useless, you let me sit with you in it. You let your survival be a witness too. The sergeant's voice tries to echo from far down the hall, something about missed opportunities and great commission. Jesus doesn't even turn around this time. He just lifts his hand over his shoulder like he's waving off a mosquito. Overruled, he says. The echo dies mid-sentence. Your Kegel Mountain angel falls into step behind you, boots scuffing. You know what gets me? He mutters half to you, half to himself. They keep acting like the Great Commission is only valid if you cross a border. You've been crossing battle lines in living rooms and dispatch centers for decades. Jesus nods. Her mission field has addresses like Flat Top Mountain, 911 Console 3, and Maddie's contact list. I sent her there on purpose. You step out onto that porch, the one from your real life, but now it's plugged into Heaven's electrical panel. The bird feeder swings. A squirrel does something ridiculous on the rail. For a second, the accuser voice tries one last angle. But you're just sitting. You're just feeding birds. You're not doing anything. Jesus leans on the post, watching the yard like he's proud of every square inch. This, he says quietly, is obedience right now. Let the porch be holy. Let the birdseed be incense. Let the stillness preach that I am God and you are not required to outperform me. He turns to you again, and there's that final line you asked for branded into the air between you. Keep being my child, unashamed of it. Keep following me in obedience, not in performance. I love you, daughter. You tell him you love him, and this time it doesn't feel like you're saying it from the defendant's table trying to win favor. It feels like you're saying it from your own porch, as someone already cleared, already commissioned, already home. Inside the house, your phone will still buzz, your Jenga spine will still ache, people will still misunderstand. But stamped over the doorway of the hallway you just walked out of is a verdict that will not change when the pain spikes or the crowds disappear. Not derelict. Walking testimony. Assignment active. And every time the old drill sergeant shows up to read you your supposed failures, he has to pass under that ruling first.